Welkom bij een nieuwe aflevering van Over Eten, een podcast voor nieuwsgierige eters en drinkers. Elke aflevering ga ik op zoek naar culinaire kennis, leuke verhalen, gastronomische avonturen en hoop ik om zo meer te weten over eten. Ik ben Stijn de Schaar. Welkom bij een nieuwe aflevering. Vandaag blijven we niet binnen onze landsgrenzen, maar gaan we eigenlijk meer dan een landsgrens over. We gaan naar Zuid-Amerika. Zuid-Amerika, meer bepaald Argentinië. Daar heeft het wijnhuis Chandon, een dochteronderneming ga ik maar zeggen, van Moet-Chandon, het champagnehuis. Een wijngaard, meer dan één zelfs, over de hele wereld hebben ze. Maar heel specifiek gaan we naar die in Argentinië. De streek van Mendoza is wel bij wijnliefhebbers misschien wel de best gekende streek van wijn maken in Argentinië. En ik zit vandaag samen met Paula Bartolucci. Heel vreemd, het klinkt Italiaans, maar ze is wel degelijk Argentijns. Paula, thanks so much for being on the podcast. First of all, your name sounds very Italian and not so Spanish.
Yes, it is. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'm very happy being here with you. So let's do it.
Your name sounds Italian more than a Spanish-sounding name. For people that know about Argentina, they're familiar that there is a big influx of Italian immigrants. Is that where the roots of your family are?
Yes. As you said, my surname is Bartolucci. It's very, very Italian. And here in Argentina, we are most of Argentinian people are or have Italian names or Spanish. So they are immigrants that came after the war. So we really have a lot of very traditional roots coming from Europe, most of them coming from Italy and Spain. So I think that in our taste and in our things that we are doing, I think until today, we have deeply these roots in all the Argentinian things that we are doing. For example, I don't know, I have in mind now the Garden Spritz, that's why we developed this product with a very local sense.
Let's circle back to the Garden Spritz a little bit later. Okay. But I do like what you said about the European roots. I've only been to Buenos Aires, and I really had the feeling that I was walking around in a very European city, in the sense of the statues, the way the city was organized, all that sort of thing. It had a very European vibe. And then also, I've had some of the best pizzas in South America and Argentina, surprising me. Because, as you said, there was a big influx of immigrants. It shows in other parts of Argentinian culture as well. Argentinians are the biggest consumers of Fernet in the world. Fernet, for those who don't know, is an Italian Amaro, an Italian bitter. And you guys drink it with Coca-Cola.
Yes, we mix it with Coca-Cola and it's very, very bitter. So no one's understand us why are we drinking Fernet in that way. But I don't know, it's part of our custom. It's normally here, yes.
Just a little fun fact. I remember trying it in the airport in Buenos Aires, and me and the guy that was with me, we both had one sip of the drink. We looked at each other. We're like, "Yeah, this is not very good." So we just left our money on the table and quickly went away because we didn't want to face the embarrassment of not liking Fernet and Coke. I said your name is Italian. You have Italian and Spanish influences in Argentina, and that also shows in winemaking. We're going to be talking about winemaking because you are one of the winemakers for the Chandon house. Chandon is somewhat of a daughter, I would say, from the famous Moet-Chandon. Is that correct?
Yes. In 1959, they founded Chandon Argentinie. So they came here to Mendoza. Today, Mendoza is one of the world wine capital, so it's very famous. But in that days, 60 years ago, Mendoza was only like a desert. and there wasn't a lot of vineyards. Only in the east zone of Mendoza that until today we have the east zone that is more for quantity of different grapes, and they place it here in Agrelo. I'm looking all the time in that direction because I'm pretty next to the Andes mountain. So out of my window is the Andes mountain. So that's why Mendoza it's so important in the wine industry, because we have the altitude and the freshness that give us wonderful wines. Talking about the sparkling wines, for us it's very, very important, this altitude. And as I said before, Mendoza is a desert. So we have all this purest water coming from the mountains that reach all of our vineyards. So it's very, well, what can I say? I really love Mendoza and, of course, making wine. So for me, it's a very, very special place. Yes, I make some different elaboration around the world just to see what happened in other places before I started working here in Chandon, Argentina. So for me, it's very, very important being Argentinian and being from Mendoza. Yes, I can speak about my Italian roots and all the European roots, but I'm pretty proud of myself being from here, and I'm very happy because of that.
So when Chandon started, was there somewhat of a wine industry in Argentina, or was it mostly for local consumption?
Yes, it was more for local consumption. As I said, in that year, all the industry was placed in the east zone of Mendoza, just to make a lot of different of wine, like quantity and not quality. So we started to go up into the mountains and in the Uco Valley, that is the most important zone here in Mendoza. And in that year, they came with Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. That is, they are the base grapes for the champagne. So they were trying different varieties that weren't placed here in Mendoza, just to see what happened and which quality they obtained from here, because wine is natural, so the terroir is going to be there because you make wine from grapes, and the grapes are from the soil. So every single thing in the nature impact in some way in your wine. So they placed Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and until now we are using that grapes for make the base wine for the sparkling wines. Another important thing is they introduced in that years they introduced the way of improve the water that we obtain from the mountain, just because we need to put water or to add water in our vineyards, not like in for example in France, that they have humidity and all cold summers. We have, for example, today is a beautiful day and we are in winter now. So we really have hot temperature. So Chandon was a pioneer in that. And that was very, very important, not only for Chandon Argentina, for all the industry here in Mendoza. So that was very important. As I said, the first house or the first maison out France was Argentina. Then we have another Chandon in California and in Brazil. And then they founded another one in Australia and China and India. So today, I don't know if you saw all the new branding of Chandon. We are like in a global consumption of this new branding. Is very, very special living this, because they are saying, okay, now we are the five wineries out France. We are a community of 16 winemakers that we are always in touch, of course, for technical things. And it's very, I really appreciate that when you see, for example, a Chandon Brut from here, from Argentina, you can see Chandon Brut, Argentina. Then you have the same label, Chandon Brut from California, Chandon Brut from Australia. So they really wanted to tell everyone that we look for the best, but with the local sense. So that's very, very important for me. And I think it's like a very modern way to see the winemaking.
I think it's a very interesting way that you've put it, looking for the best with a local flavor. Do you think that is the reason why you became the first female winemaker in the Chandon family? Because you're the best with a local flavor?
I think so. No, but I think, yes, I'm the first female winemaker in 60 years here in Argentina.
In Argentina, so not just in Chandon.
In Argentina.
Wow.
Now there is another head winemaker in California too. So I think all of this talk a lot about this, how can I say, this community of different winemakers. And we have no frontiers. It's like, okay, we really appreciate if you are a woman or if you are a man and where you came from. And we don't see, or we really believe that all the difference make us better. That's how we work. And every time that some people ask me, what do you think about a female in a male man industry? Because it's like that. I always say that I never have like something that notice me that I'm a woman and I'm different. No, I really want to highlight that for me, it's a matter of personality and not a matter of gender, because I never have like someone to make a difference because I'm a woman. So that's very important here in Chandon, because it's not the same in different wineries.
And did you never notice a negative difference towards you being a woman in the winemaking industry?
No, never. So for me, it's very, I think I'm very full of energy and very, I really have, I want to create a lot of things. So I put a lot of force in that way. And I really think that my personality make no difference at all in any way. It's like, okay, if you are like that, you're going to work at least here in Chandon in a really good way, and everyone appreciate your energy and your creativity and your, yes. I think it's like that.
You grew up in Mendoza. How early were you introduced to wine? How important was wine in your family?
Well, yes, I'm from here, from Mendoza. I used to live 60 kilometers from here, from the winery, to the east zone. So I think the wine industry was in my life. I don't know. I don't remember the an exact point, but in my family they export wine. So I remember when I was finishing the school, talking to my father, like, okay, I think I want to work in a winery. So, okay, you can go to this winery that is my friend, just to see what happened there and how do they work and everything, like a training. So I did that, and everything started there.
Where was that? Where did that happen? Was it a local winery in Mendoza?
Yes, it was a local winery in San Martin. That is the place where I was born. So I watched there. I mostly watch everything, like, okay, what are you doing? And all the I don't know, the big tanks and everything there. And then, well, I started the university in how can I say, it's the more traditional university here in Mendoza, because it's very common to study winemaking. So I started the university, and I realized that I really need the practice, because I don't know, it's like something normal that everyone do it like in the first year or in the second year of the university. So I remember I started to work in a lab from a winery, and that was my only experience in a lab, because I realized that I wanted to be at the winery, not in the lab, only in the lab. So I really like the part of the winemaking that you can create different products from, obviously, from a natural ingredient that are the grapes. So it's amazing all the process that you can make from the different grapes, and you can play a lot there. It's great. It's great.
So you went to the lab. How confronting was it to see like pipes and injectors and tests and all that, where you just were like, but what does this have to do with winemaking? I want to see the grapes grow and then crush them and make wine really with my hands.
Yes. I think that experience was one of the most important one, because in the winemaking you can choose that you can be in the lab and only analyze all the wines, and I really appreciate that, because it's a very important point of all the process, beginning in the grapes, seeing all the maturity. But for me, it was like, okay, no, I really don't want this for the rest of my life. I really wanted to be, of course, at first at the vineyards, looking how is going all the maturity, decide, make the decision of when I want the grapes being harvested, then receive them here at the winery. Yes, for me, all the process is like the sense of the winemaking. So that's what I wanted. And well, that's what I'm doing now.
Dreams do come true.
Yes. And I really like what I'm doing now, because I'm not only with this process of the winemaking, I'm making a new product. That's why I really like work here in Chandon, because you can, it's maybe it's something like thrill, but you can really what you imagine you can put in a bottle and see if it's working or not. So I have a lot of different new products coming, maybe from a talking, I don't know, maybe I'm talking with you and you mention some things, and then I imagine different ways to put these ideas in a bottle, and what is amazing here is I can do it. So I really love that.
But before you could, you had to learn some more about making wine, because when you're in a laboratory, you only see one part of the whole process, and that's the analytics part. But where did you go to pick up some more experience in winemaking? Where did you learn more about the grapes? Where did you learn more about the fermentation? Because I feel like what you're telling me, you didn't really learn that in the university.
Yes. Then I make my first winemaking experience, the full winemaking experience, in a winery at the Uco Valley. It's another local winery, and that was one of my, I don't know, it was very determined in my life, because I really live all this process like by myself, because I make like micro vinification, like in very small tanks and very small like in barrels and all that things. And I remember that I went to live there at the at the vineyards, so in a house that they give it to me for the harvest. So it's like it was like a very immersive experience for me in the winemaking process. So then I say, okay, I'm now I have like an idea, or a very general idea what is the winemaking here in Mendoza. I wanted to have another experience in the world, so I went first to make an experience in South Africa. That was my first experience in English too, so it was like I don't know, I was very scared at first. Then I think it was more one of the most special things that I have done in my life. So
I think the English must have been much easier than the Afrikaans.
yes, of course. So I make a harvest there. I stay there, I think, for 4 months or 5 months. And I really appreciate that I was not only learning about winemaking, I really learned a lot about the culture and the people there, and I love them. I think that was the experience that made me grow a lot in both ends, in a professional way and in a personal way too. Then I went to Spain to make another another experience. There I worked in a very small cellar or winery, and I have the opportunity to make everything from the grapes to the tourist part, everything. So I was very, very happy because as I say you, I'm full of energy, so I really love to make a lot of things and to be there in every single part of the process. And I don't know, people came to the cellar and I say, okay, yes, come here, taste the wine, and I make everything. So I really appreciate that experience. And then I started here in Chandon.
So if you would look back on those experiences that you had, how big is the difference in making wine between those three countries?
I think for example, I think that the process, like the very inside process, is almost the same because it's coming from grapes. The fermentation is always the same, and then you obtain your wine. The things that change a lot, of course, are the terroir and the different characteristics of the grapes that you have to. I really have the belief that you have to obtain the best from each place. That's how the winemaking give you a lot of things. That is talking about grapes. Then, of course, every single place have some particularities. Like, for example, I remember when I was in Spain, all the vineyards that we harvest were in a totally different way that here that we have like espaldero, that is a way of conduction the vines. So there were like the vines free. It's like it's called vaso, and every plant is like a glass, but in the other way around. So you have all the plant. I don't know how to explain this.
The branches?
You have all the grapes that are almost at the soil. Is like very, very different. For example, from here in Mendoza, that we have all this espaldero that you have all the plants and you can harvest the grapes like very, I don't know, in a very practical way.
And what about South Africa? How was the grape growing part there? Was that similar to what you do in Mendoza? Was it more to what they do in Spain, or was it something completely different?
It was similar that here in Mendoza, but the thing that I have every time that I talk about South Africa in my mind is like I love the Sauvignon Blanc from South Africa. It's like I don't know, it's like the best terroir for that variety. And another thing that I remember from South Africa was that they make a lot of brandy. So I learned something about that there. That was something special too, because I never been in that part of the process. So that was pretty awesome.
There's also a lot of other distillates, I would say, in Africa that are very interesting. But then you spent some time abroad. You learned these things in Africa. You learned these things in Europe. While you were abroad, did you take trips to other wineries as well, or were you just involved in the one winery where you were working?
No, I tried to go to different wineries just to to taste different wine from the region that I was working. So that's another thing. You learn a lot about different varieties that, for example, are very different here in Mendoza. For example, the red wines from South Africa, they have the Pinotage and other ones that I never hear about them here in Mendoza. And for example, in Spain, they have, Eten, Gordal, and different other varieties that you have to taste them just to know what are you looking when you are making all the process.
And certain wine regions, for example, are very limited in the certain grapes they can grow. For example, the Douro in Portugal, the Champagne in France, obviously. They have very high limitations on what grapes you can use to make it Champagne, to make a Douro wine, to make a port wine. Is something similar like that existing in Mendoza?
No, because for example, the thing that we are doing here is we are using Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, the same in the Champagne region, but we are not, because it's something legal.
When you say we are, is that Chandon or is it the tradition in Mendoza?
No, Chandon.
Okay.
I'm talking about Chandon. But for example, if I want to make an sparkling wine from another variety, I can do it. It's not something legal there that said me, no, you have to use this and this and this. So you can be free in that way to make, for example, one of the star here in Mendoza is the Malbec. In the red wine, so I can make a sparkling wine from Malbec, for example, if I want to do it and make it like a white wine and not the red wine. So it's my idea, but I really appreciate that because I feel free to make trials just to see what happened and to play with that too. Because if not, you only have Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier just to make all the. Of course, you have different objectives. For example, if you are going to develop or to make something in a very traditional way, you are going to use all this traditional and based your product maybe in this know-how of all these 60 years and all the champagne know-how with the Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and everything. But if you are making something different and you are just developing a new product or something that it's going to be out of the traditional things, of course you are going to play with a lot of different things.
Traditionally, what is produced more in Mendoza and what is drank more in Mendoza? Because your family has an export business. Sometimes the production of a thing doesn't mean it's drank locally. Is it more red wine that's being drunk there? Is it more white wine? And what is made more and exported more, white or red wine?
The most production here is for red wines and for Malbec. Malbec is our the star in Argentina, not only here in Mendoza, in the different region of Argentina too. We have here in Mendoza another important red grape that is called Bonarda. But for example, we I don't know in numbers which is the percentage of this grape, but it was only a grape of making a lot of quantity, and no one appreciate this variety. And since, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, something like that, the government want to push this Bonarda to make it like Malbec, that is very, very famous, and everyone loves Malbec and everything. And yes, people like Bonarda, but it's not the variety that everyone want to drink. And for export, it's the same. Malbec is the most recognized in the whole world here from Mendoza.
That's fair enough. And I think it's interesting what you're saying with the Bonarda, that the government is starting to push, because these kind of things can really change how people drink wine. You do have trends in drinking wine, I would say. The wine that people were drinking 20 years ago is different in flavor and in style than the wine we're drinking right now. Do you see that change happening, or are you more of somebody that likes the traditional wines from Mendoza?
No, I think that happened here in Mendoza too, that people some years ago, all the wines were like very I don't maybe with high alcohol, with a lot of wood there, and they weren't thinking in express all the fruit of the grapes.
So very heavy, very tannin rich wines.
Yes, very tannin, with a lot of complexity. So I think people, the consumer, and everyone appreciate a lot in the way that we change the. I say we, but it's in I think it's in the whole world. The wine industry, that we believe that, at least today, we believe that you are drinking something that is coming from the terroir, it's natural. So you really have to express all the fruit of the grapes. So if there is something, for example, if you put some wood there in a red wine, now it's very well balanced with all the fruity characters and not only wood. That was a big change here and in the world. So, like, in a way that we are drinking more fresh wine, fruity wines, like more not only young, because you have some wines that are for keep it for years, but with a different expression.
Yeah, wines that
Yes.
need time to develop are differently conceived at the beginning as well. So yeah, I do understand what you're trying to go at. Then you're coming back from your trips in Europe and South Africa. You've seen a lot of wineries. You've spoken with other winemakers. You've learned a lot from doing things yourself. When you came back, did you straight away start at Chandon, or did you have to do some other things in between?
I did one experience before in another very small winery at the east zone of Mendoza in San Martin, where I was born. And then I remember that I hear about the Chandon open like a new selection of a winemaker, and it was something that, wow, everyone wants to come here to Chandon. And it's very funny because now that I'm here working for 4 years now, we laughed about it because the selection part with Chandon was something like Big Brother, something like that. I have to, yes.
Do explain. I'm curious to hear this story.
It was very funny because at first I remember, well, you have to send your CV just to have the first pre-selection. So there were more than 400 CVs that they received for that selection. Was like crazy. So they select maybe 200. It was a lot too. So they say, okay, you have to send us like a video saying, why are you a winemaker? Okay, so you send the video, and I laughed because we saw that videos like months ago, and I say, I don't know why you really appreciate my video, because it was like in my room. I have only this part of my head in the video. It was like the worst one.
Let's be honest, you're a winemaker, not a video maker.
Of course, but what I said in that videos was very, like, with a lot of motivation and everything. So that was why, of course.
So if somebody would ask you today, why are you a winemaker? Would your answer still be the same or similar to what you said 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes, not the same, but I have some things that I really love about winemaking that are, of course, the creation of new things, And the winemaking is something that is like a connection between different places in the world. So I really love that, because for example, here in Chandon, what happened and really surprised me, because at first I didn't know that I'm in relation with the different winemakers, I don't know, in India, in China, in California. So you grow in a professional way, and you really see different cultures, and you of course obtain or grow in a personal way in with that experience too. So I said something like that in that video 4 years or 5 years ago, and I really believe that is something special about winemaking. So, continue with the selection here in Chandon Argentina. I send the video, then they send me, okay, you are one of the candidates for this. You have to come here to the winery this day and there. Okay, so I came here, and I remember that when you enter to the winery, you have like it's not a tunnel, but it's something like you walk through a place, and there was like full of cameras and with microphone, and they were taking pictures and something like. And I was like, okay, what's happening here?
Did you feel like a rock star or a movie star at that point?
Yes, of course. I say, okay, I'm a winemaker, but I can be a rock star too.
I think that's a good attitude, because sometimes people can get really scared when they see a whole bunch of cameras come out.
Yes. So what they wanted was to have everything like with photograph and with videos and everything, like, okay, when they select the person or the winemaker, they have all the process in these different things. Then they make us send another video talking about like a product and how you can sell this product and something like that. And then one of the last.
So you also had to know some sales skills, not just winemaking skills.
Yes, and I was like, okay, this is something I don't know, very very like different.
But if you did all the tours, the tourist guided tours in Spain, it should have come naturally for you.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, and I think.
And also growing up in a family exporting wine, doing business, it must have been there, right?
Yes, and in some way, it's like if you know how to talk, that came naturally too, and what you are talking about too. So. Yes, and the last thing that we made here, it was a tasting with the chef de cave that now that person changed, but in that I remember that Onofre Arcos was the person, and he was the third chef de cave of Chandon. So. Then he became my boss. So, but in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm really scared tasting with this guy, because it was like, okay, I don't know, someone that you see only in the TV, I don't know, or in winemaking programs or something like that. So we had the tasting. He was very like makes you feel comfortable and everything. And that was the last thing that we made, I don't know, during maybe 8 months, 8 months of this different situation. And in the interview before this one, I realized that everyone that were there was almost in the same situation that me. Everyone, I don't know, speaking English, make some experience in other countries. So that's what when I said, this is only up to my personality and in the way I can, I don't know, go through the interview and everything, because the skills were almost the same. So, and then I make 1 or 2 more, and they said me that I was the one.
So that's when you got started at Chandon. How did the first couple of months go for you? Did you get to start making wine directly, or did you really have to learn the process of the house?
Well, I remember I started in September. So
Just to make it clear for everybody listening, September in South America is not September for us. Here in Europe, it
yes.
is obviously harvest time, but it is not in Argentina. It is the start of the new growing season.
Yes, so it was awesome to start in September because it was springtime and I had enough time to learn about how they make everything here and to learn about mostly about the second fermentation method and everything, because I came from red wines and white wines, but still wines, not sparkling. So
Because Chandon is only producing sparkling wines in all their wineries.
yes. So that was another thing that was like a very certain point that I really wanted to be here, because I said, okay, it's something totally different. I have to learn another part of the process and how to do it, how to taste. I remember that one of the most difficult thing that I had to learn was to taste the base wines, because it's something totally different from the still wines. A base wine is with lower alcohol and it has another, is so delicate, and it's like the, what can I say, it's like the purest expression of the Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and it's very, very delicate. And if you are used to the red wines or white wines, like still ones, they are not strong aromas like in a still wine. So that was something that I have done during. It's something that I still doing every day of my life. At some point of the day, I taste base wine because it's something that is very, very important. Now I really know about it, but in that 4 years ago, it was, I think, the most difficult thing.
And so, when obviously the winemaker in Moet-Chandon in France, in the Champagne region, is very limited to what can be done, because otherwise he would not be making champagne. Do you have the same limitations in Chandon, or can you do other methods of winemaking, sparkling winemaking at least?
Yes, here in Chandon, no, we don't have any limitation in that, and that's one of the special things here in Chandon, Argentina. We are making both method, the Charmat method and the traditional one, for our sparkling wines. So we believe that one method and the other give us a different style of product. So each of them has a lot of benefits. Of course, you have to design your product from the grapes to the process, and then which method of the second fermentation are you going to use?
Yeah, because it's also important, I think, to understand that what you're doing with Chandon is not trying to recreate champagne.
Yes, we are. As I said before, we have this savoir-faire, and we have this 60 years of Chandon Argentina, and we really know that we have to have product of course, for like in a with a deep local sense. So yes, we have all the things from our father or mother in Champagne, but we really we believe that Mendoza give us all the special part of Chandon Argentina. That's how. Talking about the method, for me, the easy way to understand both is that, for example, in a Charmat method, that it's in the second fermentation is in a tank that is closed and under pressure. I imagine all the aromas that are coming from the base wine just there diluted in the liquid. So it's a closed tank that maintain or keep all the aromas there. So you obtain a very fresh and aromatic product. And then if you go to the traditional method, you have another style that is going to be developed during the time on yeast that it's going to because during this time in yeast, there is happening some, how can I say, exchange of different, for example, the CO2 is going out and the oxygen is going in the bottle. So all the aromas and all the characters of the traditional method are developing with the time on yeast. So you are going to obtain something that has more complexity, that has different aromas, more in more yeasty characters. So it's not only fruit and full of aromas. It's something with more complexity and delicate and different style.
And so the longer you leave the lees in the bottle, the longer it's going to develop flavor in the traditional method. That's something we learned in another episode on the podcast. So voor de mensen die luisteren, als je meer wil weten daarover, dan kun je gerust luisteren naar de aflevering met Belgische wijndomein Entre Deux Mondes. Daar legt die man dat ook allemaal zeer mooi uit. But anyway, so you are making these sparkling wines and still you decided to do something different.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not wine, by the way.
It's a sparkling wine.
It started with the sparkling wine, but it's more than just the sparkling wine, isn't it?
Yes, but it's going to the spritz category.
And the spritz category obviously is very known because of the Venetian Aperol Spritz, made very famous all around the world. But all throughout Italy, you can find variations of spritzes. Spritzes are mostly a bitter with a sparkling wine and sometimes some soda water.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that somebody from Argentina comes up with an Italian-style drink, to be honest. Where did you get the idea to develop this?
Okay, at first, for developing Garden Spritz, the first things that came to us or to my mind or to us was we wanted like a new product to be there to the consumers, like in a more friendly way and something like that. Entonces, so we thought about what Argentinians want or what they like. So we, of course, thought in Fernet. We say, okay, Argentinian loves Fernet. Argentinian loves mate. I don't know if you taste mate when you came to Argentina.
I did, and just for the people listening, mate is een soort kruidenthee die heel populair is in Zuid-Amerika met een bittere smaak. En ondertussen vind je ook in onze supermarkten en drankenhandels al meer en meer mate-thees. But yes, I've had it, and I like the ritual of drinking mate in the cup with the little spoon. That's also like the straw. It's not my favorite drink in the world, but I can see why people like it.
I was waiting to hear that. Mate is a very, very bitter drink, and we are used to drink mate from our whole life. It's like since you are a kid, you are taking mate, and as you said, we have like a ritual, like sharing all this cup with the straw. So
I remember people going. Instead of meeting for a coffee, people in Argentina meet for a mate. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's like that. Yes. For example, I talked to my mom before this meeting, and I say, okay, let's take some mate in my house in the afternoon. It's like that. It's normal. Okay, so we saw or we thought in the Argentinian loves of bitterness. So we said, okay, which product we can obtain this bitterness to add in a sparkling wine and to say and to develop this kind of a spritz. So we in that moment we make some trials with different products, and one obsession was to have only natural ingredients. So that was something that we have in mind since we start this. So we thought, of course, in another fruit, and we choose the oranges. So we choose the oranges from the north of Argentina, from a place that is called Entre Rios. And they are coming from there to Mendoza in 20 kilos cases, and we process everything here at the winery. That's like a very special point in the process because it's very, very artisanal. It's like in this, because we process all the oranges here and we choose between the whole world of herbs, spices, and different roots, flowers, and it was a huge range of different things that we can use here. So once we were choosing which of them were the perfect one, we make this macerated that we put, for example, the oranges, we peel them and we put the peels in alcohol that are coming from our wines too. So we put them like...
Is it like a brandy almost?
It's like a brandy,
so
yes.
Your South African experience suddenly becomes very handy.
Something like that, yes.
But what also intrigues me is you're a winemaker. You've devoted all these years of your life to knowing everything about the grape. What do you know about oranges?
Well, that's what I have to study a lot about oranges and about all the herbs and spices because it was something totally different. We make some trials, I remember, with the oranges in different maturities because we didn't know which was the perfect time to harvest them. So
what about the different types of orange? Because there's so many different oranges as well.
Different types of oranges, of course. At first, we have some trials with the Nabel one that was one of the most sweetness one. Then we make some trials with another that is called Salustiana, and then we choose the Valencia one that has like the best citric expression with the best equilibrium between acidity and sweetness. So in a way, we think about the oranges now like we think about the grapes. So we apply our know-how in this equilibrium and the equilibrium between the acidity and the sweetness that in the grapes is the same.
For the grapes, you have to really go into the vineyard to understand the grapes, right? To see it grow, to taste it in the vineyard, to really understand. Did you have to go to the orange growers to really understand the oranges as well?
Yes. We went to this farm that is a third generation of Italian. Yes.
Here's the Italian connection.
Farmers, of course. There is again. And yes, we learn a lot looking the oranges and making this decision of when we want to harvest and everything. Up to now, we know exactly the point of maturity that we wanted and that we want the Valencia oranges too. But that's why all the process was during these 4 years, because we had to study a lot about all these natural ingredients. Another thing is that as I said before, our obsession was to have only natural ingredients. And if you are working with natural ingredients, you need to have a lot of different trials just to be sure that you are making the best or you are obtaining the best expression of each ingredient. So that was a very a nutritive thing because, for example, can you imagine, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 different herbs and spices and making all the macerated? We leave them individually up to the time that we are making the final blending. So if you sometimes, for example, when we were developing this Garden Spritz, we tried 64 proposal, and the 64 was the one that you can drink today.
So just to be clear, everything that you do is a separate maceration, and then you blend it. So there's no distilling, there's no grouping of things together?
No.
Oh, that's quite impressive.
It's separately macerated, and we keep individually up to the time that we are going to blend it. So
It also sounds very similar to the vermouth making process that I've seen in Torino.
Yes, it's something like that. Yes, yes. And I always talk about the story behind the grandmothers making the limoncello, narancello. Here in Mendoza, it's very common to see old women making the narancello, adding the pills to the alcohol and leave it there. And well, it's mostly like that. It's very, very artisanal. And I think it's one of the most special part here in Garden Spritz. So another thing that is that everything is processing here at the winery. And that's how we, as a winemaker, doing the whole process of the wine, we can be there in every single part of the process. So that makes a difference.
It gives you a lot of control over flavor and texture and everything.
Yes.
I must assume. But then you've developed this bitter component, which is the base for a spritz. Then do you go to the wines that you already have and see what wine fits, or did you create a wine to fit with the bitter?
We create this base wine to fit with this liquor or with this bitter liquor, because you need a wine that have the structure to support of all of this bitter taste. It's not that you can, let's taste this Chardonnay and this Pinot Noir and it's the same. No, it's very important for us to, and I think that's another difference between our Garden Spritz and between this one and the other Spritz, that we are thinking in a high quality sparkling wine. That, for example, if you go to some bar to have a normal spritz, sometimes, I don't know there in Belgium, but here in Mendoza, if you go to a bar to have an spritz, sometimes you don't even know which sparkling wine is there in your glass.
Yeah, and sometimes you get really nasty surprises because the bar owner decides to take the cheapest wine available to make a spritz, because that makes his margin interesting. But it leaves you as a consumer, and especially the curious and conscious consumer that loves to think about flavors, it leaves you a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
I like the approach where you keep it all in-house just to make sure that you can keep consistency and quality.
Yes, that was our objective, and the sparkling wine in a glass of spritz, it's more than the 70%. So it's very, very important to have a high quality sparkling wine. And then I was talking about the 64 proposal that during that trials. Sometimes we said, I remember that in the 34 proposal, we said, okay, this one is the one that is going perfect. It has the perfect equilibrium and everything. We are going to taste it, I don't know, in 1 or 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, we taste it again and we said, no, this is not working. This is the worst one. I don't know how we choose this. So, and that was like again and again and again and again. I remember in a certain point, I said, okay, I really want something that has like strong aromas, not something that you can say, okay, it's a sparkling wine with something different. No, it's an spritz, and I can smell the cardamom. I can smell all the citric expression of the oranges. So I added like 2 eyes or 3 eyes, the quantity of I was adding before. And that was the 64 proposal, and that won. So it was a very interesting developing.
And are you excited now to do more of this, or are you going back to making different wines now?
What can I say?
What I always feel like is that when you grow as a person, when you grow into the things that you're doing, you want to do more of it. You want to do better. You want to do bigger. So when I obviously the listener cannot see what I'm seeing right now, but when I'm talking about this, I see some sparks light up in your eyes.
Yes.
You're triggered to do more. I would say.
Yes, I really what I really love about Garden Spritz or doing this or developing this, it was the part of the process that you have all the macerated individually there and you can smell it and extract the best expression of each one. So I felt like a perfumist there, like with the small bottles with different things and for example, I don't know, I have the cardamom, the black pepper, the different flowers, and so yes, I'm really interested in that things too. I think of course I'm going to continue making wine, but it's another word in the winemaking that open my mind at least. So I really appreciate that.
So, are you working on something new already?
Yes, what can I say? In Chandon, the innovation part is like the most important one. So you are always working in different products and new products. Of course, they has like a big times to being developed and to being approved in a way, not only in a winemaking way, in a marketing way too. So, but yes, I'm working in different things now. And for example, in the other wineries around the world, they are working in their own project too. So yes, yes.
So more exciting things are going to come. Just to circle back now to your university days, are you happy that you did work in a laboratory where you had to do all the test tube things? Because making a spirit sometimes looks like being in a laboratory, right?
Yes, I think it's like matching both things because you are in a lab making all these macerated and all of these things, but your sense are like the star there. It's like, okay, I think now if I close my eyes, I can feel the different macerated and I can say exactly what is in each one. So that's very that is fascinating. It's like your sense are 100% like open. I don't know, like yes, it's very very special.
So now that you've become one of the winemakers at Chandon, making great sparkling wines, now that you're developing these spritzes and other projects, are you going to go back to still wines ever?
Well, I don't know. It's something that I'm up to date. I don't have it in mind now, but I think there is always something there that everyone loves still wines too. So in some part of my life, I believe that I'm going to go to that way again.
And
Yes.
if you would go out drinking tonight, go to a restaurant, what would be your favorite wine to be served with your food?
So during if you ask me this question 4 years ago, I strongly believe that I said to you, okay, a Cabernet Sauvignon, like a very strong red wine. But until now, maybe after these 4 years, it's like when you taste every single day different things that you are very interested in and you are studying and learning a lot about these wines that are the base wines that like I said at the beginning of our interview, it's like you are learning in different tastes. So now I can say, okay, I can choose a sparkling wine, of course, because I love it. And if it's not a sparkling wine, I can choose a Pinot Noir, making like a red wine because of its freshness. So of course, my taste changed a lot during these 4 years, and now I choose more the freshness, the acidity, and that's amazing.
So freshness, acidity, that would be a South African Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, too.
The Chandon Spritz, what would be the perfect way to drink it?
Well, we developed this for taking in a wine glass, like in a big one, because it has a lot of aromas that you have to appreciate in this glass. And with 2 or 3 ice cubes.
Personal experience, personal advice, I would recommend more ice cubes than less, because more ice cubes keeps it cool and keeps the ice frozen, so there's less dilution. Just saying.
Yes, it's okay. And sometimes we add a sprig of rosemary, and you can add a slice of oranges too. But what I really want to highlight about Garden Spritz in the tasting is that because we were talking about the bitterness and the different kind of bitterness, and you mentioned the Campari and the Mate are like very different expression of bitterness. So in this case of Garden Spritz, I think we reach like the tonic effect that makes you want more sip. It's like the amount of bitterness that make you want more sip, not the it's like a very well balanced between the bitterness and the sweetness, and of course the acidity of the sparkling wine.
I'm very excited to try it. It's gonna be it is available already in Belgium, but you can enjoy this and find it in their local drink store. The specialized drink store, obviously. Not everywhere has it for sale yet. And I think it's best served with friends, right?
Yes, with friends, just gathering there. For example, here in Argentina, we make a lot of asados and barbecues.
That's another part of Argentinian culture that I need to dig into. But the asados is a way of life, right?
Yes, it's a way of life, and we have a asado ritual too. It's not only the mate; it's with the asado too.
Yeah, I heard you sometimes don't talk to family that does a bad asado.
Yes. But we meet each other since we start with the fire. So during this time, you are eating some cheeses and I don't know, some empanadas or something to like a toast or something like that. And that's when you have to drink Garden Spritz, of course.
It really wakens your appetite and is the start for a good day or good evening.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me. All right, fantastic. Ana Paula, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thanks so much for sharing with us about wine in Mendoza and then the Chandon Garden Spritz you developed. And I hope everybody is going to check it out. You can find more information on the internet, obviously. I'll link it in the show notes, and I'll link some locations where you can find the product as well. Ana Paula, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope to speak to you soon with a new developed product.
Yes, well, thanks a lot, and it was a pleasure being here. So hope the next time is with a glass of Garden Spritz in our hands.
Exactly, face to face without a pandemic. Maybe even at an asado, who knows? That would be great.
Yes, of course.
Bedankt om te luisteren naar Over Eten. Vond je het een leuke aflevering? Deel deze podcast dan zeker met andere foodies. Tag me gerust op Facebook of Instagram via @overetenpodcast. Honger naar meer? Dat is mijn maandelijkse nieuwsbrief vol eet, drink en luisterplezier. Schrijf je in via de website, dat is www.overetenpodcast.be. Bedankt en hopelijk tot binnenkort.